Do this. And hello, everyone, and welcome back to our candidate series. And today we have on again Jack Zibluk, who is running in now not only the regular election for Georgia State Senate District 53, he is also running in the special election because Marjorie Taylor Greene decided to end her illustrious congressional career and go back to Rome. Um, and that has caused his opponent, who he was going to face, Colton Moore, to resign from the state Senate and set his eyes on Washington, D.C. So,
Mhm.
Jack, welcome back. Um,
Great to see you, Jake, as always.
um, I will say this, the last time I had on a Georgia Democrat, Mr. Tom McCann, not long after me and him ended our conversation, Marjorie Taylor Greene announced her resignation. So, if history's a precedent, when we get off this call, Donald Trump may announce his resignation. So,
We can only hope.
um, I will ask you this. How much has it changed the campaign going from looking at a May primary and a November general election to now having a March primary and potentially a runoff in April?
It's really been insane. Really, Marjorie Taylor Greene on January 5th really set the dominoes running. There are 17 Republicans vying in the congressional jungle primary, and officially three Democrats, uh, a libertarian, and an independent. And so that opened the floodgates. I had already announced last summer that I was interested in the state Senate seat. And at that time, two Republicans shortly thereafter also announced. And that would be the former county commissioner in Chattooga County, Blake Ellsbury, and the current mayor of Tryon, of the Tryon Somerville Metroplex, Lanny Thomas. They're both the Republicans. So there's three declared candidates for the state Senate seat, and there's rumblings of a fourth in Catoosa County, but that has not materialized yet. So right now, and we expect the qualifying period to be next week in the middle of the snow and freeze. So we don't even know the slate of candidates officially yet because nobody's qualified.
Um,
And we'll find out about that next week. I certainly expect to be there, and I expect Ellsbury and Thomas to do so as well. But stranger things have happened, and they already have. So it's really up in the air. I'm going out and speaking to anybody, going to churches, weddings, bar mitzvahs, to let people know that we're there and that we're very interested. And I personally want to listen at this point to really develop issues to best represent uh, the four counties that we have. So I mean, it's an really a very interesting and exciting experience. Uh, on the other hand, the logistics of trying to get voter turnout is absolutely overwhelming. I mean, we do have a bit of an infrastructure. I have a manager helping me, April Lakeman of Atlanta, who's an experienced operative, but she's learning as well. And so uh, it's just extremely compressed. Lots of meetings, lots of talks, a lot of emails, but I'm just, I admit, totally over my head. I expected to be facing Colton Moore in the spring and fall and just standing up to his craziness and probably not winning, but at least using the election to stand up for, decency, working together, reaching across various divides, and just having my say in, in the political sphere. And so I was looking forward to that. Now it's gotten fairly crazy, and we'll just see how it goes.
A couple of months ago, I believe it was December, Georgia Democrats picked off a special election for a House seat that they were not expected to win.
Yep,
Um,
Eric Geisler, friend of mine.
do they think, you know, obviously the 53rd is a very difficult district for Democrats.
Hmm.
It's a very big reach.
Oh yeah,
Uh, do they believe that you could have a similar dynamic in this race? Because
nothing,
it's a
nothing's
jungle primary.
impossible. Nothing's impossible. If we had, quite frankly, if I didn't have the same election day as the congressional primary, uh, I would expect pretty low turnout. And if there was a low turnout and I had a good organization, which I do, uh, that would be a lot more likely. But since we're at the same time and the same date as congressional process, we have the potential on it, and I would be high turnout among Republicans as well as Democrats, in which would be more of a challenge than, frankly, if there were low turnout among the Republican and a strong turnout for the Democrats. So my chances are lesser, in my mind at least, of pulling off that upset under the current circumstances, but you never know. We do have with Sean Harris, the leading Democrat, and the others really don't have much of a presence, as the leading Democrat for Congress. Um, yeah, he could pull. He has a lot of crossover appeal, and I've been working with him, so that helps. His presence helps me, and my presence helps him. So lots of moving parts here,
And
and that's just where we are.
and for those who are unaware, Georgia does their special elections a little different than most places. They have an all-party jungle primary
Mhm.
system, and then they have what would typically be the runoff as the general. So
Mhm.
you could end up with two Republicans or two Democrats in the
Mhm.
general. Um,
Absolutely.
do Democrats fear that these two, talking about the congressional race, that these two people that have the Democratic name beside their name
Hmm.
could draw votes away from Sean Harris, who is the endorsed Democrat,
Hmm.
and lead to two Republicans getting in that runoff? Is there a fear that there may be some chicanery?
That is a legitimate concern. The issue, one of them is clearly a vanity candidate trying to sell books, and the other person is the proverbial poison pill, who's really a Republican who's largely there to pull away some votes from the main Democrat. So that's a concern. The good news is the Democratic organization is such as it is fully behind Sean Harris. The other minor candidates don't have much of a presence. The hope is that there's not going to be much of an impact, but it is at the very least a concern. Uh, yeah, again, there's just so many. variables involved in this. It's really impossible to predict. The one thing is that the Democrats are organized such as we are, and we are firmly working with and for Sean Harris. And, he got 35% of the vote against Marjorie Taylor Greene. And uh, with the divided Republicans, the chances are very, very, very good that he'll make the runoff. And it might be, depending on the turnout, possible that he might get that 50% plus one. Now, you know, that's what the hope is among the Harris campaign, uh, and that's what we're shooting for. Uh, so we'll just have to see. In my case, if I just make the runoff, I'll be pleased. But it is distinctly possible with just the fact I have a D after my name and both of the other candidates have R's after them. Uh, I might not. I'll continue, if that's the case, I'll continue to stay on the ballot for November. But that would be, if I don't make the runoff, it would be disappointing.
When does the legislature adjourn?
Huh. Yeah, they adjourn in March, in April, I believe. I don't have the exact date off the top of my head, but they adjourn in April. So as far as the state Senate race, we're not going to have somebody in place for the session. However, there are appearances, assorted duties,
Special
um,
sessions?
special sessions, and just being a representative for the district. You're still there, and you could still, um, you can, be a conduit for various constituent concerns and all of that. Oh, during the off season. So I mean, you're still there. Uh, but no, this, for all intents and purposes, um, this special election is actually fairly ridiculous because they're not going to have somebody in the regular session before next January, and the election for that will be in November. So it just the way the calendar breaks, this is kind of silly.
Um, let's look at the congressional election for a moment. You said there are 17 Republicans,
Correct.
and it is essentially 16 Republicans versus one Republican, if what I'm seeing play out is true. They're all seeming to go against Colton Moore, and it's Colton Moore against all of them,
Well,
correct?
I would agree with that. My own the one straw poll that occurred was among the Walker County Republicans um, Tuesday, and most of the congressional candidates were there. And in the straw poll, um, Colton got 15 votes. The next person was Jim Tully, who's a staffer for Marjorie Taylor Greene, and he got 7. And everybody else, 3, 4, 5. So, yes, and just my count of yard signs, uh, yeah, Colton, it does appear to be Colton versus everybody else, but that's just an impression.
Do you believe that his divisiveness and talk, like, have they hit on how divisive and just unpleasant he seems to be yet, or are they kind of,
Mm.
and is anyone trying to outmaneuver him to the right? Like, because that seems to be what would be the best strategy in that race if you were going to.
But they're all saying the same things. I don't think it would be difficult to outflank him on the right with, without going full on, yeah, just full-on authoritarianism. So no, I don't think there is a lane to the right of him, and everybody else is basically saying the same issues. The issues are who's the most loyal to Trump and who's the most loyal to Jesus. And there really don't seem to be that many more issues. Uh, I would like to think that there would be a lane for a professional, um, for a more professional, I hate to use the term centrist, old school conservative, small government, uh, you know, small government internationalist, traditional conservative. Uh, Someone like that might pull a few votes, but nobody's going that route. So it does seem to be Colton versus everybody else because he is the most confrontational and the furthest to the right.
Is Tully, the former Green staffer, his biggest competition, or is there someone else?
Uh, it depends on who you ask. Certainly, um, Clay Fuller, the district attorney, um, declared after a trip to Washington, D.C., and he had a fair bit of backing from supporters there, but he doesn't seem to be getting much traction. Last week, the day after qualifying, pretty much everybody in the district got a very nice, slick 8 by 10 flyer from Dalton City Council person Nikki Lama. So Lama has some money behind him. Uh, but I can't say there's a clear breakout beyond in the pack beyond Colton. Not at this point.
Um, for those who are unaware, who may have not watched our first video, Colton Moore is to the right of Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Colton, his claim to fame lately has been uh, getting arrested. He spoke out uh, at the funeral of a former state representative in the House chamber, and he just trashed trashed the deceased,
A fellow
and
Republican.
yeah, who is a fellow Republican, and he was rejected. And then at a later session last year, uh, Colton tried to crash the state house, and he was arrested for trespassing. And he was handcuffed and thrown to the floor, and it was quite the hullabaloo. And he's leveraging that, putting his mugshot next to Trump's mugshot in his campaign, literature. He was he has was um, uh, he has been thrown out of the Senate Republican caucus, and he's wearing these confrontations as a badge of honor, and that's his prerogative. But that does not help the citizens of Northwest Georgia. It doesn't do any service. It, it doesn't help anybody. It grabs headlines, gets attention, and he could say, "Oh, I'm a fighter," but all it does is isolates him from actually doing any serious work for the constituents.
If you got the Republicans in Georgia on truth serum,
Mhm.
and you were to ask them who they would hope would be victorious in the primary and go on to the special, the runoff, would they want Fuller or someone else, or the Dalton councilman, to go to the runoff?
Nope. Uh, it is a very similar dynamic as we have with Trump. That folks uh, have are tired of the status quo. They feel left out and alienated by elites on both the left and right. So, gosh darn it, we got this person, however difficult, to stand up and fight for us. Plus, they like to be entertained. Trump comes from reality television, and he played a character. And people say, "Oh, he's the tough boss." Whatever the reality is, they're voting for the character. Uh, Colton Moore is a character, and they're voting for the guy who's going to stand up for our rights. If you remember, Marjorie Taylor Greene had an ad in which she's at a rifle range and she's shooting, uh, Nancy Pelosi. It's, as the Romans say, give them bread and circuses. We're not getting any bread, but we are getting the circus. And I think people unfortunately respond to that.
Um, Sean Harris and the candidate that ran against Green prior to Sean, I believe Sean has ran, this was going to be his second
Yeah.
attempt. I believe the candidate that ran against her in 2022 also received a large amount of campaign funds. Do they expect a similar inflow of funds
Oh, yeah.
with Colton Moore on the ballot? I mean,
I don't think that, uh, I don't think that's going to make an attention any difference in Sean's funding. Uh, yes, he certainly has. That's one reason he's there. He has the backing of the Democratic establishment, such as it is in Washington, D.C., and he's being funded. I'll be honest, the difference is when I tried to work for Marcus Flowers rather than than Marjorie Taylor Greene, I would call up and I would get a college kid from New Jersey or Michigan. Sean actually has an organization in Georgia, and so there's a lot more organic organization, to use a military term, boots on the ground for Sean than there was for Marcus.
that's always a positive because if you
Mm-hmm.
get a situation like you were describing with Flowers, it can be portrayed as these are outsiders coming in to
Mm-hmm.
and that is in any situation that's not ideal, but especially in the South, that's always a very easy demagogic way to win a race. You can say these people are coming in from outside trying to
Mm-hmm.
influence our
Mm-hmm.
elections.
Yeah, and Sean's been very aware of that, and he's originally from South Georgia, and there are local connections here. He does come from originally the agriculture sector. He's not born in Northwest Georgia, but he is a Georgian, and he is making honest and sincere efforts to make those connections. Well, Marjorie Taylor Greene, I believe, is Alpharetta. She's from outside the district too, and there are a couple of the Republicans are not residents of the district. It's another quirk in Georgia. You don't have to live in the district in which you're running.
Um, you were on originally, one of the issues you were talking about was traffic up the mountain with
Funny
tra
thing you should mention that. I had a fender bender on Tuesday.
with tractor trailers.
Yeah,
Is that still
it
a
is. Now, Lookout Mountain, where I am, and across the valley there in Sand Mountain, Alabama, you have very similar issues that way. That when I-24 or 59 backs up, GPS sends trucks over the mountains. And the local um, local officials, mayors, city council people, sheriffs have told me there's not much we can do because the trucks come over state roads and local municipalities don't have the power to put up a sign that says no trucks or to slow down the speed limits. And that is, you know, near and dear to my heart, something I'd like to see on the state level that to give local municipalities a little bit more latitude on road safety. It's a pretty straightforward, nonpartisan. Uh, Another thing, speaking of your home state where you are, Colton was the chair of the Senate Interstate Economic Caucus. Didn't meet, nothing happened. We have all sorts of opportunities and developments uh, in this part of the world that can be coordinated with Alabama and Georgia. As a matter of fact, just down the road from where I am, a couple of days ago on Lookout Mountain, the city of West City, uh, community of West Brow, uh, the Electric Power Board of Chattanooga was uh, suddenly proposed putting in a a battery disposal unit on property EPB owns next to a power station, and everybody who lived in the community came out to a meeting and said no. Again, had we more communication and coordination with uh, folks in Chattanooga and EPB particularly, uh, could have had a less tense situation. So again, where we are in this part of the state, um, there's lots of cross-border issues. And again, I think we could do a much better job in all three states of working together on economic development, environmental issues, and things like that. So yeah, those are the those are the things that I'd like to focus on.
Um, what issues um are voters telling you about? Is affordability
Oh,
still
huge. Taxes. This is one of the major issues in this session of the state legislature. Is there's a movement to get rid of the income tax, and this time of year, as I pull my stuff together, the income tax is onerous. However, there's not a cohesive plan of what to replace it with, and it, all heck could break loose. So no, nobody loves the income tax, but rather than throwing out babies with the bathwater, certainly we can use, because the state has a had a pretty good surplus. I do believe in giving people their money back. Uh, Targeted tax relief uh, for first, speaking about affordability for uh, first time home buyers, senior citizens like myself, uh, who paid into the system for years and years, targeted tax relief to encourage economic development and to support some affordability issues. Uh, Another one we've really got to watch on that, and it is also regional issues, data centers. The uh, state of Georgia has approved, I forgot the exact number, but uh, I think it's like 100 megawatt expansion of the grid uh, in order to accommodate data centers. And who's going to pay for that but ratepayers? And so electric bills are, no matter where you is are going to go through the roof. And that's a huge affordability issue. Um, The Republicans did a good thing. They cut the grocery tax, even though the grocery tax is regressive. Rich or poor, you're paying the uh, same percentage. But still, yeah, cutting grocery taxes or taxes on gas, things that people use every day, that kind of tax relief can help some affordability issues.
The grocery tax in Georgia used to not even be a thing because back in the 90s, I remember when Georgia didn't have a grocery tax, my parents would travel to the food line there in Trenton and buy groceries because there was no grocery tax. So talking about, grocery tax being a regressive tax, it hurts working families
Sure.
tremendously. And, Republicans are talking about declining birth rates and, telling everybody to have tons of kids. This is a perfect opportunity to show how much Republicans care about working people. Cut the damn grocery tax.
Yeah, there you go. And they've started to, and I support that. And speaking of supporting families, certainly incentives to support childcare. Not just tax cuts, subsidies to childcare providers. So people can work. And there you go. I mean, there are opportunities, uh, but there's again, that's not all that popular. Those are things that are just not really on the books right now.
Um, Georgia is, in my opinion, one of the bright spots in the South. I think it's the best state in the South. Um, and one of those states where, you were talking about because of it, the nature of this election, that there's some more resources coming into this race
Mhm.
because of it being a special election.
Yeah.
Have y'all got any communications with any of the statewide elected Democrats to
Oh gosh, yes. And I was originally recruited to run for state representative in 24 by a group called the Fighting 50, which is a pack that's specifically created, and they have a full-time staff to target districts that are Republican led, and we were successful with Eric Geisler a couple of months ago. So yes, they're putting resources in races like mine. Uh, I'm locally funded so far, but certainly the organization and the network uh, is there. I'm also working with the Georgia Rural Council, which is Democratic Rural Council, a coordination of non-Atlanta uh, civic leaders, county committee leaders. You mentioned Tom McMahon earlier; he's the vice chair. Uh, all of those folks are working together to communicate, have common. I'm on the platform committee that communicate common concerns and articulate them. So yeah, we have some infrastructure. How that relates to votes, we'll see. But no, we do have a statewide network, which is a lot more reassuring than among my friends a mile away in Chattanooga, who are very, you know, they're very separated statewide. Very.
uh, seeing? I've followed some of the drama there in Chattanooga. They have real problems with their local party there in Hamilton County, it seems.
Oh yeah, they're divided um, racially. They are divided uh, socially and and philosophically. And I would like to see them find common ground. Uh, but you have the very strong traditional old school liberals, you have centrists, and they really don't talk. And there's some real friction there. I mean, my daughter is in New York City, and we argue about using the right pronouns for people in their chosen gender expressions, if I say that right.
That's
Uh,
fine.
and people fight over stuff like that and divide over. I won't talk to you because you don't use the right pronoun. And that's kind of that's the kind of division I'm seeing in Chattanooga.
Sometimes people from outside the South, when you talk about a racial division within a party and ideological, they don't understand that sometimes your African American wing of the party is a more conservative socially wing of the party,
Yep,
extremely, conservative, and there's a friction there between progressives and, a racial minority who should be allies who end up infighting because of philosophical and social differences.
absolutely. And not enough folks are willing to put uh, those issues aside and look at the bigger picture, which is all fine that you have, these disagreements among yourself, but when you're facing the Trump people, when you're talking about uh, issues like, abortion, uh, and choice, things that the Democrats generally agree on, uh, that they, well, maybe not even among some of the minority community, but in general, that they, they'll just fight amongst themselves, thus ceding the ground to the Republicans. And it's really frustrating to watch.
One of the issues that I have talked about myself running for state Democratic Executive Committee here in Alabama is we need to focus on the common enemy, which is
Mhm.
Republicans, not fighting amongst ourselves. Let's sit down, have the discussion about what disagreements we have and focus on the common enemy. Let's focus on the fact that Alabama is one of the few states that doesn't have Medicaid expansion, and we leave races uncontested. And
Okay.
and I it's sad to see where Democrats struggle the most. A big reason we struggle is we're fighting amongst ourselves.
Absolutely. And you mentioned Medicaid expansion. The legislature can't do anything about that in Georgia. That's entirely in the hands of the governor's office, which is why it's so important to unify behind a a unified gubernatorial candidate. And the leading person now is um, Keisha Lance Bottoms by all the polls, mayor of Atlanta, but she's done very little outreach beyond her Atlanta and minority base, and you can't win with Atlanta only. And that's my concern there. I don't, they're among the others. Uh, I'm waiting for somebody to come forward. But when you talk about affordability issues like Medicaid, that that has to be the governor. Yeah.
One of the discussions, speaking of Mayor Bottoms,
Mhm.
one of the themes that I have seen on Twitter among progressives who are based in Georgia is they expect the issue of why she didn't run for re-election to mayor of Atlanta to become an issue in the campaign.
Mm.
Uh, um, there's they seem to suggest that she would have had trouble getting reelected as mayor, and that that is why she sidestepped, a run.
Possible. I don't know enough to have any insight on that, but that's distinctly possible. Uh, I'm just worried that we have a Kamala Harris and Stacey Abrams all over again. Uh, there are candidates with other possibilities out there, but she has, and this is what I've learned in my own statewide forays, that the there's a lot of centralized power in Atlanta in this state, which you don't have in Alabama. Um, uh, you have Doug Jones. Is he the clear front runner for governor, you think?
Um, yes. There is oh God, there's like 4 or 5 candidates running. His clearest competition is Dr. Will Boyd, who is running. But Doug Jones is far and away the front runner. Um, I believe that um, Doug will win without a runoff.
Mhm.
There's enough candidates where a runoff is possible, but I would be extremely shocked if there was a
Um,
runoff.
yeah.
Um, the Besides Dr. Boyd, the only other candidate with a large following in the primary is a guy named Chad Martin, who owned a hemp store in South Alabama, that was affected by some anti-hemp laws. But his presence really seems to be limited to online. Now,
Mhm.
granted, they're passionate. They're very passionate. But Doug's gonna win. I think he'll probably win with about 63% of the vote in the primary.
Mhm.
Um, Tuberville will have Bashar Assad numbers in the Republican primary. I mean,
Mhm.
he's going, uh, Tuberville has some opponents, but it's very gadfly. Uh,
Mhm. Yeah.
the real race on the Republican side, um, was the Senate primary up until Trump endorsed Barry Moore. Um, and Steve Marshall has to be feeling very peeved about that. You try to help a guy, still an election, you throw a nice party for him up in Washington, D.C., and he endorses your opponent. Um,
Mhm.
our state attorney general was head of the Republican Attorney Generals Association at the time January 6th happened, and they provided a lot of funding for the January 6th rally. And
Mhm.
so that's the payback Marshall got was his opponent got endorsed. Um, Now the real race is going to be the Republican race for lieutenant governor.
Mhm.
Um, the attorney general's race is interesting. There's 3 candidates in that, but it's essentially a two-person race. I figure that race will go to a runoff. But
Mhm.
other than that, I mean, we don't have a lot of, in my opinion, com
Mhm.
really interesting primaries
Yeah.
in the state. There's a couple congressional primaries that I think could be interesting.
Mhm.
My congressional primary here in the fifth, we have 3 Democrats running, which is 100% more than we had in 2024.
Oh, there you go.
So, um, do you ex in how many Republicans are going to run in that regular primary for this congressional seat? Are all 17 of them going to run in that as well?
Hmm. What's
Uh,
that again?
so you've got for the 14th, you've got the special election in March and April, and then you've got the regular primary for that congressional seat in May.
Hmm.
Are all 17 of them committed to running in the regular scheduled?
No idea. My expectation would be that they would endorse whatever Republican wins the primary. They'll call us because they're all saying the same thing. And uh, I wouldn't. I think the jungle primary will equal the May primary, but I could be absolutely wrong. There's enough of them out there. Actually, I haven't thought about that much, to be perfectly honest, that are so, shall we say, self-involved that they may not want to give up. So uh, that's distinctly possible. Like, quite frankly, I hadn't thought about that.
Um,
Uh, so yeah, I mean that's it. This could go on a while.
y'all have s- a little off topic here, but you were talking about rural Democrats. Um,
Hmm.
one of the attorney general candidates, I believe the gentleman's name's Bob Trammell.
Hmm.
Uh, I've donated to his campaign when he announced he had a great announcement video. Um, is he energizing rural Democrats? Because I know he's from a rural area.
Uh, he's reached out. We are currently conducting candidate interviews for all the major races statewide, and we will be reviewing them and making some endorsements. So that's still in process. Yeah, and yes, he's got some interest and support. I personally don't have enough information or overview to have much insight, but yes, we know he's there. We know he's one of us, and he's gotten some support. I haven't delved into that enough to say anything beyond that.
So you talked about Colton had to resign. Did Clay Fuller have to resign from his position as well?
And the assistant district attorney is sitting in, is filling in temporarily until they could appoint a full-time person.
Could he be reappointed if he's
Yeah,
unsuccessful?
yes, that's possible.
So unlike Colton, he may have a fallback. Um,
Hmm.
Colton Moore is all in on,
Yep.
and that's so, folks, go support Jack. Jack is running in a very hard district. He
Hmm.
needs our support. If you live in the 53rd Senate District,
Hmm. I
please.
will be there. Yeah, I mean, I will come to your events. I will talk to your family. I'll come to your kid's fifth birthday party. But the bottom line is, I want to hear you. I want to work on regional issues, economic development, and just do the best job I can for you. I'm a third generation public servant. My grandparents were police officers. I'm a teacher. I want to help the kids. I want to be there for you. And I really mean that.
Um, so like I said, if you live in the 53rd
Mhm.
State Senate District in Georgia, support
Mhm.
Jack. Go vote for him. If you're outside that area, follow him on social media. Um, donate to his campaign.
Thank
Uh,
you. Yes, I'm not good with that, but yes, I do. We do appreciate that. That helps us. Money helps goes to uh, people knocking on doors, giving us giving that support and getting folks out there. So no, nothing's too small.
and if you thought Marjorie Taylor Greene was a divisive figure in the United States Congress, you ain't seen nothing yet if Colton Moore becomes the nominee and
Absolutely.
the congressman from the 14th district of Georgia. So if you're outside the 14th district of Georgia, I need you to go support the actual Democrat in this race, Sean Harris. Um,
Hmm.
and I also need you to get on the phone with your friends and family that may live in the 14th congressional district in Georgia and tell them there's one Democrat running. His name's Sean Harris, and that they need to vote for him. If Marjorie Taylor Greene made them set their hair on fire, Colton Moore's going to make them set their car on fire. So,
You got it, Jake.
uh, I thank you, Jack.
Thank you. I always enjoy it. We will be in touch no matter what happens. Thank you. Any support, and any support I can give you in any of your endeavors, that we're there, my friend.
Yes, sir. All right.
Okay, thank you. All right,
Thank
have